getting me? Is this getting me? Audio? Is the audio working? Okay. I think this is as good as it's gonna get. Sit up straight. I was not planning to do this. Unique New York. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. Let's go. Hello. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. Video number 3, March's video, has been out for 3 weeks now. It's complete. Got it done. And that's a win. That is a win. The first thing to kind of get into is it was very limited gear with this one. A lot of the B-roll was already filmed, which I'll get into in a minute. So it was filmed on the Canon C70 with the 15-35 lens pretty much exclusively. There was a few shots in the intro that I switched over to the 85 STM RF mount lens. And that, I think, is about it. I guess let's start with the idea for this. The Desiderata, which is a poem that was copyrighted by Max Ehrmann in 1927, was one of my nana's, my dad's mom's, favorite pieces of literature. And she really shared it with my dad. And in turn, my dad shared it with me. And it's sort of always been on my radar that I wanted to find a way to share it with my boys. My dad used to read it to us, to me at least. I don't know if he read it to my other brothers. I don't think he likes them as much as he likes me. And so it's something I've been familiar with. And about 7 and a bit years ago, when I first got sober, I put the poem onto my phone and I would read it once a week, twice a week, just as sort of like a reminder that it was okay to be where I was and that things were going to be fine. And it's sort of become like just super, super important to me. So the idea that I wanted to be able to pass it on to my boys in more of a updated format than just reading it to them at bedtime, that's sort of always been on my mind. And the B-roll for this was actually almost all filmed about 3 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago. And it was in a folder on one of my hard drives called and labeled Desiderata. I had filmed it with this, not specifically this project, but a project like this in mind. When I first got my Canon C70, it arrived a week after my wife and I had lost a late-term pregnancy. And it sat in its box at my house for probably close to a month. But when I did finally get around to opening it, this project was really on my mind a lot. And that's why I started that Desiderata folder. And I started going out with the boys and recording little clips here and there of them. But when I got back into doing this project and digging into the folder, I was in such a weird headspace at that time. And I think Heather and I were dealing with so much grief that it was almost like I was seeing the footage for the first time. I could remember going out and filming it, but that whole period of 12 to 18 months or so after the loss, it's sort of just lost. I just don't really remember it that well. So when it came time to do March's video, and again, I bounced around from idea to idea, this one kept coming back to me, like maybe this is the right time. And I started to put up these ideas like, okay, well, I have some footage, but maybe I should wait for a sunnier time, or maybe I should wait until the weather is a little better, or one of the boys has something kind of monumental coming up. Maybe the B-roll isn't quite there. And it's that cycle again of sort of like getting myself off track because things weren't totally ideal. So eventually I decided, you know what, time's running out in the month. This is the time. It's time to do this. And again, once I sunk my teeth into it, once I started getting going, it just felt so good to be working on something that I had in my mind for so long. I did have a little bit of a tough time figuring out how I was going to get in and out of the footage of the boys, and how I was going to get in and out of the narration that I was going to do myself. So I was talking to my friend Scott Bell, who has a really, really killer YouTube channel, by the way. I don't know how to put cards on videos and stuff like that, but I'll try and link his page down in the comment section or something, or the description. He's got so much good content. But I was talking to Scott and I was saying, man, I have this idea and I want to do this poem and I want to kind of do it for my boys with this B-roll that I have, but I don't know how I'm going to get in and out of it. And he suggested, well, what about if you wrote it to them like a letter? And that was all the inspiration I needed. And that was just a sliver of an idea that I needed to just get going on that opening sequence. So I came here, I got pen and paper, an envelope. I wrote the entire thing down in my own handwriting, which actually took so long because I haven't handwritten anything in ages. I wrote it all out and just started filming. And I knew I wanted to sort of have an overhead shot, and I knew I wanted to have some close-up of the actual handwriting itself. And so I recorded the narrative, and then I went back and I just started knocking those B-roll shots off. And I didn't want it to be really heavily on me. I didn't want there to be a ton of shots of me in it. So just those few clips going in and then a single clip going out was perfect. It was all of the sort of like Baxter we needed in that piece. It came together super, super good. Luckily I had a lot of the B-roll filmed, and then I went out and filmed sort of the end sequence of Hudson at the playground with Heather and I and him one evening as the sun was going down. And it was really interesting to put together. It was much more emotional than I thought it was going to be. Being a parent's a trip. And going back through the footage of the boys and laying it over the poem that, you know, was really important to me growing up and certainly me in my adult life, it just really caught me off guard how much it got me in the feels. And I was blown away by how many people felt the same way. Once the video went up, I was just getting messages and texts and comments about how beautiful people thought it was and how much that piece of literature meant to them. And I don't think I'd really kind of like prepared for that prior to doing the project. I kind of just thought, okay, well, this is something that'll feel good for me. It's something that I've wanted to do. But the engagement it got out of people and the response it got from people was just, it was amazing. It was amazing. I don't know how to say it. It was unreal. I'm so flattered that so many of you enjoyed it. As far as things that went sort of wrong, things that we could improve on, I think really one of the big things was the narration. This is why, this is why I'm doing these things really is to learn more and more each time. And something that I learned on this one was I should have had a pop filter. I should have a pop filter now. But a pop filter basically is something that kind of like clamps onto your microphone stem, and it goes as a screen between you and the microphone, and it stops these pops. Pop, pop, pop. It stops those pops from spiking your audio. And looking back at it now, that's something that I learned about the narration, was that a little more care needs to be taken to that part of the recording. It went fairly smoothly, but in a way that I think I was really happy with it. But always looking back and being your biggest critic, you can see these little, moments of things that could have been done better. And that's certainly one that could be dialed in. Moving forward, I think the thing that has once again kind of emerged is that each of the months that I've gotten going and actually done something, it's felt just super good to get out there and make it. That's something that I really want to keep going with. I just really want to keep building on that feeling, and it's going well. So April is, I think today's the 21st. April's video is not done. It's in the queue, and there's some things getting figured out right now. So I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit stressed, but overall, the message is remaining the same, and that is if you get out and you make it, you're going to love it. My old photography teacher from when I was in photo school used to say, take the photo, you're going to love it. And that's becoming super true in this exercise, that make the video, you're going to love it. And if you don't love it, you're going to learn something. So there you have it. Desiderata has been out for 3 weeks. I think it's about 450 views or something on YouTube, which is fantastic. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming along on the journey. Heads up, hearts full. See you guys in the next one. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, good. There. Or not.